Reading. Loved by parents, hated by kids, despised by teenagers. Reading for just 5 minutes can reduce stress by up to 68%. Reading for as little as 30 minutes a week can produce greater life satisfaction. Reading increases your emotional intelligence, higher levels of empathy, and interpersonal connection. So knowing all of these benefits of reading, how can we read more? Well, keep watching this video because I have 3 tips for current non-readers and 5 tips for current readers. And if you follow these tips in this video, I promise that by the end, you will be reading more. My first biggest tip for new readers is commit to reading 10 pages per day. I think the biggest trap is trying to dive into reading too fast, trying to speed through an entire novel in one day. It might sound like that if you're only reading 10 pages. It'll take forever to get through a book, but if you read 10 pages a day, and the average book is 250 pages, so it'll take 25 days to finish a book. So 25 pages per book times 365 days per year is 14.6 books per year. Not bad at all. And it's 14.6 books more than what you're doing right now as a current non-reader. And that is a massive jump. Even if 10 pages a day is too much, just stick to 5 pages a day. You'll read over 7 books a year. That's still pretty awesome. A little bit of fantasy, a bit of romance, a bit of horror, a bit of self-help. It's a great way to dabble in the hobby of reading. My second tip is to block out a specific time where you'll read. How many times have we said to friends, let's meet up over the summer, but it never ends up happening because there is no specificity to it. In 2 weeks' time, you will both forget about it and that meeting never ends up happening. What if instead you said, let's meet on July 16th at 3 p.m. at Baskin Robbins next to TNT? That's much more likely to happen, and that's actually what I said to my friend Josh from school. Now it's gonna happen because we both have it down on our calendars. Specificity is king. It's key to making things happen. So if you look at my weekly calendar, I have reading blocked out from 5:30 to 6 o'clock for most days, except Monday, Thursday, because those are days I have work. And also on Fridays in the morning, I have from 8:30 to 9:30 blocked out time for reading in bed with a calm face, because reading does help me relax and I find reading in bed very enjoyable. I still need to block out times to read, because I know if I don't, then I will probably not read, even though I've got this habit in my life. So especially if you don't yet have reading ingrained as a habit, blocking at specific times where you read. Specificity is king. The third tip is to make reading easier and make distractions harder. So for me, at 5:30 to 6, I read. And before that, I go for a walk because I usually feel a bit tired after a walk. So it's just amazing to lie in bed and relax in bed while reading. So how I can make reading easier is that before I go for a walk, I leave my Kindle on my pillow. So after I shower and get back into my room, I can just jump on the bed and I have the Kindle waiting there, right there for me. So it's made about making reading easier. I can make distractions harder by leaving my phone on the desk across the room. So I'll bring it with me. After I enter my room, I would leave my phone right here, and then I would lie down and crash on my bed with my Kindle right here. So I would pick up the Kindle, and then I'm much more likely to stop reading and go on my phone because I would have to make the effort of trudging, getting out of bed when I'm already comfortable, and walking all the way over here to grab my phone. So it's by making this distraction, my phone, harder, that will help me stay in bed and read for that blocked out time. Say you take the bus to school. Always have your Kindle in somewhere accessible in your pocket, in your backpack, in your bag, so that if you're bored, you'll be less tempted to grab your phone because your Kindle is right there. And if you're in the middle of a good book, oh yeah, it's much easier to just whip out that Kindle and read more. My second tip is to read multiple books simultaneously. I like to be reading 2 books at once. One book being self-help book and one book being a fantasy book. The reason is that I'm a lot more energized and excited in the morning. So I'm in more of an academic mood. So I would tend to prefer a self-help book. And say after coming back from the hospital, a tiring shift, I'm not trying to read a self-help book and trying to think about my life. No, I'm trying to relax with a nice Brandon Sanderson fantasy book. So by having multiple books that fit different moods, it's more likely that there will be a book that we are reading that fits the mood that we are in, and thus we'll read more. My third tip mainly applies to non-fiction books. It's okay to skim and even skip entire sections of the book. The most recent example for me is a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. It was an amazing book. Like, it had outstanding insights about the value of sleep. But I would say that there were segments of the book that did get a bit dull and boring. I just skipped past that entire section and went to the chapters or the locations that interest me. The reason this would help is, like, imagine you're in the middle of a non-fiction book and you're in a super dry part. So you put down the book and then the next day you'll go like, do I really want to read that? Probably not, because it's a boring part of the book. With fiction books, I would say things are a bit different, because those boring parts are essential for developing plot and character and theme, and it's all kind of in preparation for that massive climax in the end. So with fiction books, I would say err on the side of caution. I probably wouldn't skip parts. With nonfiction, oh yeah, definitely. My fourth tip kind of jumps off that previous tip, and it's that you should always quit books if you don't like that book. I think a big reason why we don't like to read at school is because we're being forced to finish that book when we don't want to finish a book, when sometimes it's boring. And if we're forced to do something, we're much less likely to do it. With leisurely reading, never, ever force yourself to finish a book. It's in the name, leisurely reading. You should be enjoying it for leisure. Just don't force yourself to finish a book. My fifth tip would be to get a Kindle, and I will make a future video on this explaining all the benefits of a Kindle after using a Kindle for a few months now. So a Kindle makes reading more enjoyable, and the more enjoyable and pleasurable something is, the more we'll do it. I think the reason that I read more now is that back then, after an entire day spent on my computer, the last thing I wanted to do was pick up my phone or my laptop and focus my eyes and strain my eyes more on this device that's emitting blue light. It is also a bit of a hassle to search up the definition of a word that I don't know on computer or my phone. It is very pleasurable to read on a Kindle screen that doesn't strain my eyes at all. There's a built-in dictionary. I look forward to it. It's something that I want to do because of how nice the experience is. That wraps up the video. If you found it at all entertaining or helpful, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like, comment, subscribe, and share with friends and family. I really do love rambling on about reading, and I'm thinking about making a future video about ranking tier lists, and I also want to make a book recommendation video for new readers getting into fantasy and self-help books. So if you'd be interested in that, leave me a comment down below and let me know. That concludes the video. Have an awesome rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.